right, Unit 1, American Politics. Woohoo! In this video, we're going to go through and talk about some of the roots of our American democracy, looking at political parties. Where did they come from? They're actually extra-constitutional, which means they aren't in the Constitution. If you were to break it out today, skim through that baby, you'd see there is no mention of political parties in the entire document. So why do we have them then? Why are they still around? Let's go ahead and talk about that in today's video. All right, in today's lesson, we'll be on page 2 of your interactive notebook, and we'll be talking about the roots of political parties here in the United States. But first, let's talk about an essential question. Today's essential question that you should be able to answer by the end of this screencast is, what factors influence the development of political parties? So first off, what is a political party? Is it just a party that they get to go to around election time? Not quite. The formal definition of a political party is a group of people who seek to control government through the winning of elections and holding public office. So that could be at the presidential level, it could be a state senator, it could be a local mayor. All of these different categories have political parties. The one thing that unites a political party is that the people who are members of that political party have some sort of common core belief, value, something that unites them, something that they all have in common. Now, do they agree with every single little thing? Definitely not. They're still human. But there's some things that they're generally going to agree on. The two most popular or two most prevalent political parties in the United States right now are the Democrats and the Republicans. In a future lesson, we'll talk about other smaller third parties, but these two have dominated over the past decades, and every president in the past couple decades has been either a Democrat or Republican. So that's why we say they're the two major ones. Now, political parties are actually extra-constitutional. What does that mean? If we break down the term, we can see extra, that usually means in addition to. Constitutional, it's got the word constitution in it, so maybe it has something to do with the Constitution. Extra constitutional means it's something that's not included in the Constitution. So it's extra to the Constitution, or in addition to the Constitution, meaning it's not in the Constitution anywhere. Political parties are just that. There are actually no political parties when George Washington was president. He actually warned people on his way out of office not to have political parties. And he actually felt that there shouldn't be any. He actually warned the framers of the Constitution that this is not a good idea. So the Constitution doesn't say anything about political parties in it. So again, they're extra constitutional. In his farewell address, George Washington actually, as I said, warned against them, saying that they would have baneful effects for the spirit of the party, meaning they'd be very harmful. And you think he might have been right. Now, while he was in office, George Washington had a cabinet, just like the president does today. It was much smaller than today's cabinet, but two prominent members stood out, and they wanted to kind of take the United States in another direction. They're arguing over the Constitution at this time because, again, the United States was still very young. We were still trying to kind of draft our rule book, and we wanted to see what should be included and what shouldn't. And this is actually how our first political parties were developed. They were developed over an argument. And the argument was over, what do we put in the Constitution? So we had two members, as I said. One was this gentleman, Alexander Hamilton, and he was the Secretary of the Treasury when George Washington was in office. Hamilton believed that individual rights were at risk if the government was too weak. He really felt that there needed to be strong power in the national government. Now, we had just come out of a war where we had a tyrant king that was watching over us or being controlled over us. So he doesn't mean that we want something like that, but he felt like someone needs to be at the head of the class or at the helm of the boat so that we don't kind of run around with chickens with our heads cut off. So he really wanted the central government to make most of the decisions for the citizens. With that, he formed what became known as the Federal Party, or Federalist Party. On the other side of the argument was the Secretary of State in George Washington's cabinet, Thomas Jefferson, who we also know claimed to fame as he wrote the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson wanted to limit the power of the federal government or the central government and give more power to the states because the state governments were closer to the people. Hamilton's view wasn't wrong, Jefferson's view wasn't wrong. It's a difference of opinion, which basically is what political parties are. They have a difference of an opinion on a certain subject or a certain topic or a certain issue. So Jefferson is very strongly in support of states' rights and individuals. And with that, he goes on to form the Democratic Republican Party. Now, we can see Democratic Republican in his party name. There are loose ties to the current parties today in both sides, but there is no direct tie straight that one was the Democrats and one was the Republicans, so to say. But there are loose ties that we could take from them. Now, there are some additional resources that I've linked above. You can go ahead and check those out. Alexander Hamilton has become very popular recently because of the Broadway hit show Hamilton. So I included that link as well. So again, this has been our first screencast on political parties and how they came to be. Thanks for tuning in and check us out for the next lesson. Thanks for watching.